All right, we are on to honoring Commissioner Melton, and I will call on Commissioner Sparks to read this proclamation, and then we do have a guest who would like to speak as well. Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I am honored to serve in the same city as Miss Commissioner Betsy Melton and honored to present the proclamation by the Kent County Board of Commissioners. Whereas Elizabeth Betsy Melton was sworn in as a Kent County Commissioner representing District 13 in January 2017, was reelected in 2018 and will be leaving the Board of Commissioners at the end of December 2020. And whereas during her years with the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Melton served on the Legislative and Human Resources Committee, and whereas Commissioner Melton significantly contributed her time and talents to serving on other county committees, including the Community Health Advisory Committee, Kent County Community Action Governing Board, and the Grand Valley Metro Council Transportation Division Policy Committee. And whereas prior to running for the Kent County Board of Commissioners, Betsy served on the Kentwood Public Schools Board of Education for 8 years. A graduate from the University of Michigan School of Nursing, Betsy worked in Ann Arbor at the University Hospital in the surgical ICU for almost 3 years and worked at St. Mary's Hospital in Grand Rapids for 10 years. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that Board Chair Mandy Bolter, on behalf of the Kent County Board of Commissioners, hereby thanks Commissioner Betsy Melton for her dedication to the residents of Kent County and for her years of service in local government. And it be further resolved that the Kent County Board of Commissioners hereby bid Commissioner Betsy Melton farewell and wish her much, much, much happiness and quality time to spend with her husband, Scott, 3 children, and grandchildren.
Thank you, Commissioner Sparks. Mr. Zorhoff, this is your cue. Are you ready to go?
I am ready, and I know you've had a long meeting, and
Yes,
I know that.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I know that superintendents have a tendency to be long-winded, so I promise I won't today. I won't. I just want to say.
Appreciate you being here.
Well, no problem. When I was asked if I would say a few things, I was more than happy to do it. I'll just say a couple of things. One about Betsy's formal servant heart. She has served West Michigan and the Kentwood community for many, many years with a servant heart. Formally, she's been, she was on the board as Monica said for 8 years. She's also served on our Kentwood Education Foundation for 15 years, PTC since, I've been here 33 years. So I can't remember a time that Betsy was not doing something to help the Kentwood community. She is the first to call you, as you know, and call you out if there's something she thinks needs to be changed. But she always follows that up with, how can I help? And she's a great cheerleader for all the things that go on in West Michigan and especially Kentwood. So we've been very thankful for that. Personally, many of you may not know this because this is the behind the scenes Betsy. She was the first to call us when COVID hit and say, listen, how can I help? She was going to rent a truck to see if she could get food to serve the kids. She's always there to get anything behind the scenes for when it comes from clothing to coats to socks to scholarships for field trips. She is just one of those people that never stops serving. And Bets, from the Kentwood community, from Kentwood Public Schools, I know you may be retiring from this board, but I know that you will never retire from your servant leadership. So thank you so much for all you've done for the kids, for the community of Kentwood, and for West Michigan. Well-deserved honor and well-deserved retirement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sitting through our board meeting to honor Commissioner Melton. And I know sometimes that, yeah, sorry. Commissioner Melton, would you like to say a couple words?
No, thank you. I serving Kentwood is just such a tremendous honor. There's no other thing that I can think of other than maybe my grandkids that brings me so much enjoyment and joy. And being on the Board of Commissioners, I just was saying to Scott last night, when I decided not to run in March, I had great thoughts of what I was going to do next year as far as travel, and that will be put on hold. But I really didn't anticipate how difficult leaving all of you and this and being part of the county is. It's way harder than I thought it would be. So Michael, thank you so much for what you said. It's obviously very mutual. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Melton. All right, we're going to move along to honoring Commissioner Talon. Can we have that up? And I do have Carol Hennessy is ready to go in reading our proclamation. Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you. It's my honor to be able to read this proclamation to honor Jim Talon, because it was in January 1993 that Commissioner Jim Talon first began his career in public office and served as a county commissioner for 8 consecutive years. And whereas Commissioner Talon returned to public office and was elected as a county commissioner to represent District 16 in January 2009, later it was changed to District 15, and after serving the residents of Kent County for 12 consecutive years, Commissioner Talon will be leaving this Board of Commissioners at the end of this present term of office. And whereas during his tenure on the board, Commissioner Talon served on the Legislative and Human Resources Committee, where he served multiple terms as vice chair, as well as on the Finance and Physical Resources Committee and Executive Committee. Commissioner Talon was elected by his peers to serve as the board minority vice chair in 2020 and had his last meeting this morning. And whereas Commissioner Talon significantly contributed his time and talents to serving on other county committees, including the ACSET Board, Area Agency on Aging, Community Corrections Advisory Board, and the Community Mental Health Authority Board. Most notable throughout Commissioner Talon's career as a commissioner was his involvement and success with the Prevention Subcommittee, the Downtown Development Authority, and his appointment to the Michigan Joint Task Force on Jail and Pretrial Incarceration. Now therefore be it resolved that Board Chair Mandy Bolter, on behalf of the Kent County Board of Commissioners, hereby thanks Commissioner Jim Talon for his dedicated service, his contributions to local government, and his sincerity to his constituents and residents of Kent County. And be it further resolved that the Kent County Board of Commissioners hereby bid Commissioner Talon farewell and wish him much happiness and success in his well-deserved retirement. Signed by Mandy Bolter on behalf of all of us, and it appears as though there is a gift here for him of a compass.
Yes.
And may it take you multiple directions in your future, Jim. We will miss you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hennessy. I do have a couple of guests here to speak to Commissioner Talon's service. One could not make it and has asked Commissioner Bukowski to convey her thoughts. Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Jim, this is from Jan Earl, who is hiding up in the North Woods, and her internet connectivity is suspect. So she texted this to me. As the now retired executive director of the Heritage Hill Neighborhood Association, I worked closely with Commissioner Jim Talon for many decades. Jim is the definition of a public servant. He is responsive, he works hard, and he shows up. Jim's thoughtful approach and vast network of expertise brings much to the table. He respects and appreciates people from all walks of life. From the small issues to broad community needs, Jim was my go-to guy. He understands street level needs and can bridge bureaucracies to make government work for his community. His involvement with Pleasant Park was a highlight of our many shared actions. This once county-owned crumbling asphalt parking lot is now a 2.5-acre community green space. It's a joyful place for both South Hill and Heritage Hill neighbors to play. Jim's involvement also included most all land use issues in Heritage Hill over the past 35 years, including the recent design and construction of Heritage Place, the more appropriate rerouting of the Silverline BRT off narrow residential streets, the development of the State Street Corridor Area Specific Plan, and many, many others she listed. Jim was engaged in all expansion plans of neighboring institutions, Spectrum Health, Mercy Health, Mary Free Bed, GRCC, so that development bridged the residential community from the high-density institutional use. He participated in numerous GRPS reorganizations so that neighborhood families had access to quality education. And Jim served on the association's finance committee since the late 80s and continues that service. He wrote and implemented the computer program to staff home tour volunteers, and he attended most every neighborhood event and meeting throughout my 35-year tenure. He also kept us informed of the work of the county, the DDA, and engaged in community action through his weekly newsletter. Jim's energy and involvement in his community is boundless. I thank you, Jim, for always being there and all your work for Grand Rapids neighbors. You made a difference.
Thank you for sharing that, Commissioner Bukowski. I also know that Mayor Bliss is on and would like to say a few words. Mayor Bliss?
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I'm really delighted to be joining you all today. And before I get to Jim and talk about how much I appreciate him, I just also want to say thank you to Matthew Van Zetten. So in addition to serving as mayor, 20 years I worked in child welfare, and we worked alongside one another on a lot of important initiatives. And I just want to thank him for his years of service, as well as this entire commission. This has been a hard year, and I'm so grateful for all of you and your partnership as we've gotten through this very tough time. So thank you for that. And then Commissioner Talon. So I've been serving in elected office for 15 years, and you have been our strong voice at the county during that entire time. And I have seen firsthand how hard you work. I think Commissioner Saalfeld is right. You are probably one of the hardest working individuals that I've had the pleasure to work with, maybe outside of Commissioner Kelly. She's a tough one to follow. And you know, what Commissioner Bukowski and Jan said is absolutely right. You show up, you consistently follow through. You've been active, not just in Heritage Hill, but in Hartside, in the reimagining and visioning for Granville. Your work and the fingerprints of your service are all over the neighborhoods that you have represented. I've also had the pleasure to serve with you on the DDA, and we've done some really good work as we've focused on making sure that our city and downtown has a strong urban core. You know, you were instrumental in getting us to the finish line with the Studio Park investment. That's a $140 million private investment. And in that project, there is a key commitment to supporting minority-owned businesses. And that's what I'll end with. You know, in addition to your hard work and real heart for public service and your authenticity, you have consistently been a voice and an advocate for diversity and inclusion and equity. And for that, I am deeply grateful. So Commissioner Talon, thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you've done in our community, really throughout your entire life. I hope to continue to work with you on issues around housing and homelessness and downtown redevelopment. But I really, really hope that this next chapter is a great chapter for you. So thank you for your service. And again, to the entire county board, thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, Mayor Bliss. That was so great of you to pop in, and we really appreciate seeing you. Commissioner Talon, would you like to say a few words?
Oh, man. I'm sure glad I wrote some things down. Appreciate the nice proclamation, and after those words from Jan and Mayor Bliss, kind of got the tears going. I really appreciate the kind words. 28 years ago, I joined this board along with two other newbies, Steve Pesca, who you probably know eventually became a state representative and then a circuit court judge. And as we just heard a few minutes ago, Ken Parrish. Interestingly, Ken and I started at the county at the same time. We're leaving at the same time. And even more interesting, I think we also happen to have the same birthday, go figure. So we'll both be celebrating that in a few weeks. Dozens of commissioners have come and gone over my 28 years, and I've enjoyed serving with most of them. I've appreciated the respect that most of my colleagues have given me. I think it's important that we treat each other with respect. I'm disappointed and discouraged by the lack of respect that I see in so much of our political discourse today. I'm sure many of you share that feeling. I like to think that we can do better here in Kent County, and I hope that we continue to do so. As I'm sure you all would agree, we have some amazing people working for Kent County, and I've met and worked with so many of them over the years, especially to those who work so hard and efficiently behind the scenes. I want to say a final thank you. You are appreciated. I've worked with a lot of incredible leaders among our county staff, and I have great appreciation for so many of them. But I do want to acknowledge one from the past who I'm especially grateful to have been able to work with. This person was part of a somewhat informal local group that met back in the late 1980s and early 1990s before I became a commissioner. We got together to talk about how to apply total quality management principles to government. Some names you might be familiar with who were part of that group included George Hartwell, Beth Banstra, who I think might have been a county commissioner at the time, Fred Keller, and a guy who was the city manager of Rockford. I really liked that Rockford guy and was very happy when he ended up being hired as the deputy administrator for the county. And of course, that guy, Daryl DeLabio, was a shoo-in to take over the administrator job when it opened up a couple years later. I've never stopped appreciating Daryl. I also want to acknowledge another longtime county staff person whose significant contributions, I think, have been underappreciated. Roger Sabine was working as a landscape architect for the Parks Department when I joined the commission. Over his years with the department, eventually as its director, he worked hard at developing relationships with people who owned property next to our parks. He knew all the neighbors and the neighbors knew him. Those connections that Roger nurtured have paid off over and over in our ability to expand our parks over the years. Roger sometimes came off as kind of a curmudgeon-y guy, but he had a heart of gold and a vision for parks that continue to bear fruit today. One other historical observation I want to share with you all is how the county's service footprint, the things over which it has direct administrative control, has shrunk over the past 28 years. Since I joined the board in 1993, the county has spun off Kent Community Hospital, Kent County Libraries, Community Mental Health, which became Network 180, John Ball Zoo, and most recently, the Gerald R. Ford Airport. We added Community Action a couple years ago. So we're basically left with community health, parks, public works, and community action. I don't know what all that means, and one might be inspired to ask, so what? Since I won't be around to ask that question, maybe someone else will feel inspired to ask it later on. If I could leave you with one final parting thought, it would be this. I know how much we cherish Kent County's AAA bond rating. I've learned to live with that and even appreciate it, I guess. I wish, though, that we cherished eliminating the inequity in infant mortality for our Black and brown babies just as much. I wish that we talked about the inequities of lead poisoning among Black and brown children just as much. And I wish we debated the effects of homelessness on physical health, on mental health, and on child development just as much. I leave you with this challenge to focus as much on reducing infant mortality, eliminating lead poisoning, and ending homelessness as you do on acquiring another AAA bond rating. It's good and important work that we do. Thank you for letting me reflect just a bit on my history in it. And thank you for the incredible opportunity to work together with all of you to shape a better Kent County for everyone. I wish you all the best as you continue that work in the coming years. Thank you, Chair Bolter.
Thank you, Commissioner Talon. All right, as mentioned, we're going to leave all of our colleague comments to miscellaneous. So we have two more of our colleagues to honor. And next up is Commissioner Voorhees. And I will be reading this one, and Pam, you'll have to move the screen up as I as I move along. Commissioner Harold Voorhees was sworn in as Kent County Commissioner representing District 9, later changed to District 8 in January of 2003. And he will be leaving the Board of Commissioners at the end of this term. During his nearly 8 years on the Board of Commissioners, Voorhees has served as chair of the Finance and Physical Resources Committee and as a member of the Executive Committee. Commissioner Voorhees significantly contributed his time and talents to serving on other county committees, most notably the John Ball Zoo Board of Directors, Friend of the Corps Engagement Task Force, the Grand Rapids Kent County Convention Arena Authority Liaison Committee, Community Mental Health Authority Board, Pension Board, Drain Board, Senior Millage Review Committee, Millennium Park Architectural Advisory Review Board, and Foreign Trade Zone Board. I don't know if there are any other boards, but it seems like you may have served on them. Prior to his career with Kent County, Commissioner Voorhees was elected to the Wyoming City Council in 1987 and elected mayor of Wyoming in 1991. In 1993, Commissioner Voorhees held a seat in Lansing for 6 years as the state representative of the 77th House District, representing the residents of Wyoming and South Grand Rapids. In 2005, Harold began a business called Cookies Unique LLC, aka Steenstra's Windmill Cookies, and has blessed our Board of Commissioners and many companies and organizations with these wonderful and delicious cookies. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners and me, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, hereby thank Commissioner Harold Voorhees for his dedicated service, outstanding talents, and sincerity to the people and families of Kent County community. Be it therefore resolved that the County Board of Commissioners hereby bid Commissioner Harold Voorhees farewell and wish him much health, happiness, and time to spend with his family in the years to come. And with that, I am going to turn it over to our former Secretary of State, Terry Limland.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm honored to be here today. It's kind of like being back with family. And I do need to give a shout out to Ken Parrish because he was my coffee partner when I was county clerk. And thank you for your service, Ken. And also Clerk Lyons, thank you for swearing me in to my new job at Wayne State Board of Governors last Friday. I appreciate that. And also to the fellow commissioner, Jim Talon, who was there when I was county clerk too. Thank you for your service. But I'm here to talk about my Uncle Harold. I've known Commissioner Harold since he, was my uncle, and I was just a twinkle in my parents' eyes. And he's known me all my life. As you know, Joanne is a land, and she's my cousin. And so Harold's been a part of our family forever. And one thing about Harold, it's about his service. Harold is all about service. And as he mentioned earlier today, he has a merry heart, as we know, and he always gives service with a smile, whether it was serving in Wyoming on the city council or mayor. And I do think, you can correct me, Harold, but I think mayor was one of your favorite jobs. You truly enjoyed being mayor of the city, and you relished having that opportunity. And then, of course, he went off to the state legislature, which was the same time that I ran for county clerk. And I do want to give a shout out to Harold on this. When I became county clerk, they did not have family courts, and the courts were having challenges with all of that. Harold led the way. He saw that also, and he worked very closely with the Clerks Association along with Representative Nye to create family court. And that is really a feather in your cap, Harold, to be able to really recognize that it was needed for families in our community to have family court. And then you became a county commissioner. So you actually got to be on the Board of Commissioners while family court was working well for our families here in Kent County. He's also, very proud of his kids. You know, Harold Jr. took over the business, which Joanne and his partner for life were started a long time ago and grew that business. And then, of course, Carla, who's a missionary for their family and husband in Mexico. And then, of course, Nancy, who went into the healthcare, was a nurse. And you know what they did? They all gave him grandchildren. He has many grandchildren, as he probably shows you all. He's very proud of them all. I know he'll enjoy spending time with them. And that's just definitely his pride and joy, he and Joanne. And Joanne, again, thank you to her. We should thank you to her too for working with Harold all these years. And I think it's going to be great. And really his leadership and his service to the community, he really was a leader here. I mean, he did the trifecta. I mean, he was county, city, and state. There ain't very many people that can say that, Harold. So good job. We're very proud of you and thank you for your service. We know that you're going to continue to serve because Harold is a Rotarian. I'm a Rotarian, so we're going to continue to serve in that area. And I just want to say thank you to Harold for serving our community, our state, and our cities. He's been wonderful, and I'm glad you're a family member, Harold. And thank you to the whole Board of Commissioners too, just for all of your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terry. We also have Dave DeShaw joining us today. Dave, are you there?
Yes, Chair Bolter, can you hear me?
We can.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. I can't really say it any better than Secretary Land did, or Governor Land, I should say. But I just want to tell you that I was 10 years old the first time I put up a Voorhees yard sign in my yard. And little did I know that for the next 34 years, I would follow, work for, support, be mentored by, and ultimately really come to love this man, Harold Voorhees. It's hard to explain just what he means to me and to my family. And as Terry mentioned, he's had a lot of titles over the years. Of course, the most important title he's ever had is husband to Joanne, one of the smartest decisions he ever made. But Harold himself has been a light and an example in our community. He's literally impacted hundreds of thousands of lives. And Terry mentioned some of the things that in his career he's done. But I just want to tell you one little story. In 1993, I was a 17-year-old intern in his legislative office. And he would pick me up at 6 o'clock in the morning from my house, and we would drive to Lansing together and spend the day working on committee meetings and general session and constituent work. And then in the evening, we would drive back from Lansing. We being me, I would drive us back from Lansing. And Harold would work on his legislation. He'd make calls on his car phone. He would call constituents. And sometimes he would close his eyes and lean back and tell me, quote, "I need to think hard about a problem." I later came to learn this was really a euphemism for taking a cat nap after a long day. But he taught me so much. And I can remember one particular day in March of 1993, we were driving back. I've never forgotten this. I asked him what he had to do that night. And he said he had to go to a spaghetti dinner at Wyoming Park High School. And I said, "Harold, you've just spent 12 hours working and now you're going to go to a spaghetti dinner. Don't you ever get tired? Don't you ever want to, take a break?" And without missing a beat, he admonished me and said, "David, this is an honor to serve as an elected official. And spending time with our neighbors and constituents, the people we serve, is exactly what this job is about. The Harold Voorhees you see in public is the Harold Voorhees that many of us have gotten a chance to see over the years in private. And that says something when someone can be authentic and be in public service. And the people have been well served indeed, Harold, by your time in office. In the book of Micah, public servants are commanded to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with their God. From the bottom of our hearts, we know you have done this, Harold. We respect you, we celebrate you, and we say thank you. Love you, Harold.
Thank you too for joining us. I think it was so special. And Harold, you're up. Do you want to say a few words?
Do you hear me? Yeah, okay, thank you. I've really had the opportunity a little earlier to share my thoughts and my appreciation. And I really appreciate you and our relationship. And it's really been a blessing to do that. And so thank you again for that proclamation. for your service and all of my fellow commissioners and to Wayman and I think before with Daryl. Thank you. God bless you all. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you, Harold. All right, we are on to our last honoree today, and that is Commissioner Vonk, who's been with us 19 years, I believe. And I will ask Emily Breivy to read his proclamation. Commissioner Breivy.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Bolter. I'm honored. After, hearing from all of our staff members and elected officials, the 6 people that we've honored today, there's over a century of public service. So this is huge. And these people have all contributed greatly. And I'm honored to say this about Commissioner Vonk. Commissioner Theodore Vonk was sworn in as a Kent County Commissioner representing District 4 on January 2, 2001, later changed to District 1 in 2003, and will be leaving the Board of Commissioners at the end of December 2020. During his 20 years on the board, Commissioner Vonk has served as Chair and Vice Chair of the Legislative and Human Resources Committee, as well as Board Vice Chair in 2011. Commissioner Vonk significantly contributed his time and talents to serving on many other county committees, including the Public Works Board, where he has served as chair, the Gerald R. Ford International Airport Board, Soil Erosion Subcommittee, Building Task Force, Grand Valley Metropolitan Council and Transportation Division Policy Committee, County Township Liaison, Remonumentation Committee, Resource Conservation and Development Committee, and Foreign Trade Zone Board. And prior to serving as a county commissioner, Ted was Plainfield Charter Township trustee from 1980 to 1996, township supervisor from 1996 to 2000, and was a military staff sergeant for the Michigan National Guard from 1966 to 1972. Now therefore be it resolved that Board Chair Mandy Bolter, on behalf of the Kent County Board of Commissioners, hereby thank Commissioner Ted Vonk for his leadership and dedication to the residents of Kent County in the years of service in local government. Be it further resolved that Kent County Board of Commissioners hereby bid Commissioner Ted Vonk farewell and wish him much happiness in his retirement. Congratulations, Ted. Job well done.
Commissioner Breivy. Awesome. We do have 2 guests today to speak on behalf of Commissioner Vonk. Doug Wood, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Welcome. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Some of the board members may not know who I am. I'm the retired board or Department of Public Works director. And, during this COVID period of time, you have an opportunity to reflect on your past and your career and things that you've accomplished, but you didn't accomplish them alone. You accomplished them with great leadership that was provided. And one of the, I was reflecting on mentors and people that affected my career. And one of the foremost names that came up in my mind was Ted Vonk. Ted provided great leadership as a Board of Public Works member and also as chair. He was one of the leaders that led the charge to advance recycling in the county. And we were successful, and we built a modern recycling facility. And also some of you board members may not know that, but the Board of Public Works and the department provided water and sewer services for townships and cities for about 30 years. And during my tenure as director, we began to phase that out because a lot of the townships and cities wanted to take it over themselves. And Ted, as Board of Public Works chair, was instrumental in those negotiations to transfer those operations back to the townships and cities. And that was accomplished and successful. And, Ted always provided time to meet with me whenever I needed to sit down with him. We at least met once or twice a month to go over agendas and things like that. But not only that, talk about business, but we talked about family. Ted was a family person, family man, and he asked about my family and I asked about his family. And, you know, when you develop relationships, that's important. I do have to say, some of you may know that many years ago, Ted was involved in a terrible motorcycle accident and he had to have a number of surgeries. And he had to go through rehabilitation. And I'll never forget, he was in a rehab facility and I used to visit him and he had a great smile on his face because he wanted to hear updates about what was going on in the department. And he really served his constituents and he wanted to make all the improvements that he could related to what we did in the Board of Public Works. I do, finally, I just wanted to say I have been on his motorcycle. He went from a 2-wheeler to a 3-wheeler, and one day he picked me up and we went for a ride. And also I've been in his Corvette. So that shows you the type of relationship that we had as he was a commissioner. And I really appreciate the work that he's done. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Doug, and bearing with us for this long meeting, but we really appreciate you coming in to honor Commissioner Vonk. And last but not least is former Commissioner Art Tanis. Artie, are you there? Maybe.
I'm here.
There he is. Hey, Art, welcome back.
Thank you, Chair Boulder. And it's great to see all you folks again. And Chair Boulder asked me to say just a few words about Ted Vonk. I was chair of Public Works several years ago, just before Ted. And we took a trip to Tacoma, Washington on a conference. And we went along with Dennis Komichek from the Department of Public Works. And on the trip, we asked Ted, what can we do for you in Public Works? And it wasn't Ted, I mean, Mr. Komichek. And he said, our recycle facility is really, really outdated. And we're not moving what we should be moving through the recycle facility. And he said, looking at the big things, I'd like to see a new recycle facility. Well, Ted and I got together over an adult beverage at the top of our hotel overlooking Mount Rainier. And we were talking about the recycle facility. And knowing that Dennis Komichek wanted to have something nice, we decided we'd bring it before our board and take a look at what we could do for the recycle facility. Well, needless to say, everybody came on board with us, and we wound up with a state-of-the-art, first-class, single-stream recycle facility. And that was all done with Ted's help and his thoughts. And I just can't imagine it not being accomplished without Ted. So that's my story about Ted. I could tell stories about other people on the board, but I'm not going to. I want to congratulate Harold and Jim Talon. And I didn't get to know Betsy, but I'm sure we would have got along good together. And our friend Ken Parrish and Matthew Van Zetten, they're all going to be missed. I think we did good, and I appreciate Ted. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Merry
Art. And thank you
Christmas.
for being here. Merry Christmas to you. All right.